Hello everyone, today I want to talk about attention and intention and 7 ways to find your driving force. Hello everyone, today I want to talk about 7 ways to find your driving force through the 2 things that you control, the only 2 things you control, your attention and your intention. So as always, to help, I'm going to begin with a quote, and that quote is, "To me, at least in retrospect, the really interesting question is why dullness proves to be such a powerful impediment to attention. Why we recoil from the dull. Maybe it's because dullness is intrinsically painful. Maybe that's where phrases like deadly dull or excruciatingly dull come from. But there might be more to it. Maybe dullness is associated with psychic pain because something that's dull or opaque fails to provide enough stimulation to distract people from some other, deeper type of pain that is always there, if only in an ambient, low-level way, in which most of us spend nearly all of our time and energy trying to distract ourselves from feeling, or at least from feeling directly or with our full attention. Admittedly, the whole thing's pretty confusing and hard to talk about abstractly, but surely something must lie behind the just mosaic in the dull or tedious places. But now also actual TV and waiting rooms, supermarkets, checkouts, airport gates, SUVs, back seats, Walkmans, iPods, Blackberries, cell phones that attach to your head. This terror of silence with nothing diverting to do. I can't think anyone really believes that today's so-called information society is just about information. Everyone knows it's about something else, way down." David Wallace. Wow, what David's really nailed down on here is that we're continually putting our efforts into distracting ourselves. And it's true, isn't it? Entertainment is huge. It's such a huge part of our lives now. And it hasn't always been the way. If you ask someone or look at the media or look at the way the world is constructed, it's all about distracting us from simply being. Now, why is this and how do we really push through this? Well, from my perspective, it's really about the intention and attention situation I mentioned before. And this is best illustrated when I first heard about the Philips light bulb company. Now, to give you an idea of placing your attention and intention on a situation, the Philips light bulb company were looking at increasing efficiencies in one of their factories. And in order to do this, they thought they'd play with the lighting because they believed as a lighting company, good lighting would perhaps perfect productivity. So what did they do? They went onto their factory floor, they sent their managers and some of their researchers in, they surveyed all the staff, and they went and changed all the lights, and they increased the number of lumens, the brightness within the factory, and then measured the results. And incredibly, they had a 20% increase in output just from increasing the light. They were absolutely blown away. This meant a huge deal to the company. So they then went back in, surveyed the staff again, changed the light bulbs with the researchers to increase the lumens even more, and they found a 50% output and production increase simply by changing the lighting. They were blown away. Now, in order to make sure this was a controlled, measured experiment, they decided to revert the lighting to the old standard, which had previously existed, just to see what would happen. Amazingly, results increased again, output increased again, which was great, but now everyone was absolutely bamboozled on how we could now go back to the same light level and increase results. So on the final survey, to help understand this better, they asked the staff what they thought it was, why they thought when the lighting went back to the original methodology, why they kept increasing their output. When the staff were told about the experiment and what it was actually based on, they were blown away. They thought that their managers and researchers had simply taken a new interest in the factory, that they were now being treated as individuals who were important to the company, enough to have people come in and change the lighting and look at different bits and pieces around the factory floor. So what had happened? These people felt valued. These people felt like there was something going on, something more important than themselves, and their input increased. And we learned a very valuable management skill from that. So, number 1 on 7 ways to find your driving force. Understanding you only control 2 things. You don't control politics, you don't control who wins the NBA finals. You control your attention, what you focus on, and your intention, what you want to happen. Anything outside those 2 things, you cannot control, so don't try. And when I say don't try, I'm saying that very lovingly because I know that it only creates stress and suffering. But when you bring into your breath your attention and then have a good intention for other people and yourself, your results are always controllable. Number 2, anxiety attention. Temperamentally anxious people can have a hard time staying motivated, period, because their intense focus on their worries distract them from their goals. Wilfred Gallagher. Now, we know that attention is powerful. And how do we know this? Because when you're stressing or depressed or anxious, you have applied your attention to a problem and it changed your entire physiology. It makes you stress. It makes cortisol increase in your brain. It makes your heart rate increase. That's just your attention. You're providing your attention to a problem, and the result you're getting is a change in your entire body state. So whenever that happens and your attention is being moved to something negative, shift your attention, because you're in control of your attention. You might not be able to control that you're in a difficult situation or something bad has happened to you, but you can shift your attention you apply to it. Number 3, the brain can only have one thought at a time. As much as we give ourselves incredible credit for being these smart species of humans who can go to the moon, we can only think of one thing at a time. And if the thing you're thinking about right now does not serve you, think about something else. It's that simple. Now, sometimes people have difficulty doing that because they don't know what to think about, or the thought is so entrenched in the wiring that they can't. So go to your breath. Your breath is far more important than your thought. If you stop breathing, you die. If you stop thinking, nothing bad happens. You just simply go into a daydream. So understand that if you're thinking about something bad, all you need to do is go back to the breath. Number 4, the breath. Prana, the energy, the life force, the in and out, the slow cycling, which activates your parasympathetic network, which is the opposite to your fight or flight response. What happens when you get stressed? The breathing gets shallow, the heart rate increases, and all the bad chemicals are released. What happens when you breathe deeply? You start to feel better immediately. People don't like, I think, to believe it's that simple, but it is. Breathing is at the very core of your true nature, and focusing on it will make huge differences in your life. 5, in conversations. When you say something, you are repeating something you already know. But when you listen, you learn something new. And I've really started to understand this. I think I spent most of my life in conversations waiting for my turn to respond, to say something funny or witty or make a good point. Only to now realise that, why? I already knew that point. I haven't learnt anything. But now I've become so much more interested and attentive to other people in conversations because they have something new to tell me. I don't know what that day was like yesterday, so I can get a whole extreme amount of information. And when they tell me things, I can use the subjective framework of the observer and the observee to say, wow, that's interesting how they react in that situation, and it turned out this way. Therefore, if that happens to me in my life, I might react this way to get a different result. So I can learn through their experiences simply by listening through attention. 6, the fastest way to get someone else's attention. We love other people's attention. Since we really know deep down that attention is one of the only 2 things you control, when someone gives it to us, it's beautiful. Lovers, family, it's great. Now, sometimes there's situations where you're not getting attention from someone. Now, the way that you can understand that situation is to understand the law of the framework of scarcity in the universe. Scarcity creates value. Now, we know that gold's more valuable than dirt because there's less gold than dirt. It's very, very simple. If you want someone's attention, simply remove your attention, because focusing your attention on the fact that I'm giving you attention will only create stress. But when you say this person obviously has things going on in their life, they can't text me, they can't message me, they can't call me, I'm going to move my attention to some more important things, my health, my breathing, whatever's going on today, right now in this moment. What you'll find is that very, very quickly, by removing your attention, you may very well get their attention. And if they don't revert to your attention towards you, then it's not right, and you can move on to someone else's attention. 7, fight for your own attention rather than the other attention of others. So we've just talked about how important the attention of others can be. But the challenge is that quite often we don't fight for our own attention. We want attention from other people and we lose ourselves. One of the biggest challenges about falling deeply in love is losing yourself and thinking about the other person constantly. Fight for your own attention. Whenever you find that you're thinking about something you can't control or thinking about other people's lives, maybe just knock yourself on the head and go, how about I worry about the important things that are happening to me right now? And once you put your attention on there and your intention is good, you'll find that your life starts to change dramatically. Because you can only do 2 things. You can change your procedure or your perception. If things aren't going very well, change the way you do it, your procedure. And if they're still not going well, change your perception, because maybe you're seeing it in an incorrect way. Or leave the situation altogether. Definitely something to think about. Attention, intention. Where is it going? What's your intent for your life? And where are you putting your attention? If those 2 things don't match, maybe it's time to think about changing them. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.